We're going to turn all of this over to the first panel and get going. And unless there are any announcements or questions, let's get going. All right. Leslie and company.
I think that we hadn't totally conceptualized physically how this was going to work. Like, were we going to be like a full panel? Were we all going to, have a conversation up here together, or any of that? And we in Santa Cruz, see, this is the Santa Cruz table over here, have been really distracted for the last 3 weeks. And so I want to apologize. I convened this panel, and then I have not been able to track it. And so I'm just now getting back in touch with people. And about 5 minutes ago, I was like, oh, wait, I'm moderating this? So... So what I would like to do, though, having now paid attention to what people are going to be talking about, is to reorder the presentations, because I think they make sense in a little bit of a different order. I do want to say what this is about a little bit. Thanks, Charles. It's a little bit strange to say that there's a panel on language and culture, because everybody, all of us, are always talking about, we do language and culture. This is a literacy organization. And so what is it? Why do we need a separate panel on language and culture? One way to think of it is that it's what happens when you center languages and cultures, and make it visible, make it the topic of our curriculum, and make it a topic about resources, and make it a topic about evaluation of our practices. So we do a lot of other things, art and poetry. There's many different ways that we approach it. But what happens when we are thinking about the centrality of our students' languages, our languages, cultures, and why does it keep sliding off the radar? Why does it keep sliding off the budget sheet? That's what I'm especially concerned about. And why is it so hard for some people to understand this? And so what I'm hoping is that these presentations will help us make it clear and explicit, and see it begin to see it in an intersectional way, and to breathe life into this topic. So I hope also that it won't confuse you all. I'm going to read the new order. We have first El Sol, creativity, identity, and community. So if you're looking at you might want to number these just so you can keep track of who's who. We then move to non-traditional learning structures from Whittier. That's number 2. Number 3 is negotiating digital literacies, Jessica Adams Grigoriev from Berkeley. Number 4 is teaching children to be language architects with critical language awareness, Greg Thompson from Brigham Young. Exploring youth's interests through digital storytelling, Lily Liu from Santa Barbara. And that's, we're sort of moving towards, her presentation is more about evaluation. And so how do we evaluate these things? And then I'm actually going to wrap up, and I changed the whole title because I just wrote this, because I'm really interested in systemic approaches to thinking this through, and to strengthening and joining our approaches, and funding for all of us and our communities. Okay, yes. Number 1, El Sol. Number 2, non-traditional learning structures. Number 3, negotiating digital literacies. Number 4, teaching children to be language architects. Number 5, exploring youth's interests. And number 6, Mine is called on the page a curriculum of cross-generational belonging. Yeah. Okay, and we're going to try and, sorry for the longish intro, we're going to try to keep to 10 minutes each and then have a little bit of time to discuss. Okay.
So good morning, everyone. We are also Conexión from UC Irvine, and we are in a collaboration with Sue Cronmiller and Dr. Ana Elizabeth Rosas, working with also Conexión and also Academy. So today you'll be hearing from our public scholarship seminar. Not all of us could be here, I was mentioned yesterday, so we'll begin by introducing ourselves.
Oh, my name is Natalie Aguilar. I'm a third-year undergraduate student as a political science and international studies major, and it's under the School of Social Science.
Hi everyone, my name is Ángeles Analendi Rosales. I'm a second year public health policy major under the School of Health Sciences.
Hello, I'm Keanu Gallardo. I am a fourth-year undergraduate student at UCI, and I am a major in Chicano Latino Studies in the School of Social Sciences.
And hi everyone, I'm Vanessa Nicole Torres. I'm a third-year undergraduate student at UCI, majoring in Chicano Latino Studies under the School of Social Sciences and minoring in Literary Journalism and Latin American Studies at the School of Humanities. And we want to begin our presentation by showing you a video that kind of shows all the collaborations we have done in the past couple months at El Sol, kind of give you guys more of a visual idea of what we've been doing besides poetry.
We are celebrating today Manuel Hernandez Trujillo, a great artist that has inspired a lot of activism and community empowerment here in California, but also in other states. And we are showing a film, and also Dr. Manuel Gomez will be speaking about the history or the forced separations that happened in Mexico. It is important that we have these kinds of events to remember who we are as a community, how we can make a difference, and also to pass it on to younger generations.
As you see, a lot of kids really active in the culture, and it's so important that we continue these traditions. Something that started decades ago continues on into generations and generations. For example, my son's mother actually performed this when she was their age. So to carry it and echo it over the generations is beautiful.
The impact that we have seen here in the community is bringing people together, either to enjoy watching the students perform an Aztec dance and remembering who we are, but also interacting with each other.
I was a student at UCI when Manuel and his wife Nidia were mentors. When I was watching the film, it just reminded me of what a nice, generous person he was. And when he was being interviewed, what he was saying about how life has to have meaning, it meant something to me.
I believe we as a people have experienced 4 historical separations in our history, which has formed us into who we are today and will continue to influence who we become tomorrow as we move forward into our future.
After translating for Dr. Manuel Gomez, it's actually very inspiring to relearn the history of Mexico. Being born in Mexico, knowing that part of history, but also coming to the United States and knowing a different kind of history has impacted me to become a better person, but also knowing that everyone has struggled and that we continue the struggle for a better life and better opportunities for the children.
I really think the El Sol Academy is quite a place to think about, reflect, create together, and to learn from the trajectories of artists like Manuel Hernandez Trujillo. I'm here in the capacity of trying to make sure that UCI students, undergraduate students, are a part of this community making this creative work. We started our collaboration by partaking in workshops and different kinds of meetings that center on how to coexist and how to become allies in this larger project of creating together.
My name is Adriana Martinez, and I'm an artist and art instructor. Today we are here at the Dancing with the Sun Festival, covering the life and artwork of Manuel Hernandez Trujillo. A few weeks ago, I got to do a workshop with some students, and we created a work inspired by his life and artwork. And so that's what we're looking at today. We were talking about identity, being Mexican American, ties to our family, bonds, all of these things. So this is some of the work that we created. So this workshop and talking about Manuel Trujillo is very important because he was an activist who used his creativity as an act of resistance. And so sharing his life and his artwork and getting people to really think about how they view themselves, right? What does it mean to be Mexican American? What do you identify as? All of these things help people get to know themselves better, make deeper connections with themselves, but also it's a shared experience. We all get to make this artwork and spend time together and kind of connect on this level, a creative level.
So that concludes the video portion, and each one of us is going to touch a bit on our personal experiences and why we do the work we do in addition to everything else. So for me personally, even before working with the children, I was challenged in so many ways. And just working with them, I think it was really important for me to be part of a public scholarship community in which we all think right in community, and also being part of a space with so many different individuals where improvement and individuality is promoted. So another thing I would like to mention about that is how important it is that us doing this work is a way to confront traditional learning experiences and say that creative work does allow room for intellectual growth. And in doing so, just the way that these children always come up to us and showing us their work with such pride and at the same time reluctance shows so much growth and honesty within them is really great. Even by collecting their work, that just being hesitant in that also just kind of shows that they care and look forward to it, and how much it's how they can grow from it and how close it is to their hearts.
One experience that I took personally from working at El Sol is the accountability of me being a guide for these children, as obviously they have an energy to learn, and obviously they need to focus it on something. And so oftentimes when we're doing our programs, our poetry programs, I often tried my best to stimulate the students, like mental processes of thinking, just like give them ideas on how to start, and obviously provide them that support, not as a teacher, but as someone that is rather like showing them the ropes as what to do. And one thing that also I feel like motivated my willingness to go out and help these children is the fact that growing up as a Latinx, as a Latinx male, I oftentimes didn't have these chances to obviously learn from university students and obviously look up to a Latinx male that is as a teacher or as a teacher's aide. So I take my role into extreme importance because obviously being there allows them the opportunity to see that they can also somehow get into our shoes as well.
Yeah, another thing, it's like being able to collaborate with El Sol, we are also able to like not lose and keep learning about our roots and that creative process and creative learning. One thing about poetry is like you're allowed to use that everyday language that sometimes when we write papers and stuff in colleges, we might forget to keep improving on those skills. So we allow the children and for us to keep working in that everyday language they might use or what they are able to communicate the best. And we emphasize that everyone's individuality is important to collaborate with their projects, but we also are able to relate to them. So that's something really interesting that we're also able to work with.
And on top of just in general working with their everyday language, another aspect of that is the fact that they're in a dual immersion environment. These students are facilitated in Spanish and English, and that's something that even though the environment is supposed to cue them into, we have to work as a group and as allies to kind of cue them in to do it into their poetry work. There are many students that aren't feeling assertive in the creative writing process unless it's in Spanish or in Spanglish, and that way we are able to kind of show them to be proud and of their Latinx, identities. And something else about the environment is that not only is it dual immersion in the language, but in the fact that they're in a STEM and arts environment that coexists the fields, and that's something you usually don't see until college campuses, and that really inspires me because I know when I entered college, I originally was STEM, but then I got pathwayed into humanities and social sciences, but I'm able to still coexist those fields by doing civic engagement work like this, where we're able to work with students that are pushed into STEM pathways and the arts pathways and be able to create assertively in both ways. And we just also wanted to thank Dr. Ana Elizabeth Rosas and Sue Cronmiller for making this collaboration possible and allowing us this opportunity to work with these students, because that has really impacted all of us.